a snapshot of the very first rough draft that you'll see at the end, because that's just how I play. Here's what I'm starting with. I've got a photocopy of my great-grandmother holding my grandmother in front of a house in the snow with a chair and a car, and it's a really cool photo that I love. I've got some other elements that I'm going to show you, but first, let's start with this. So I've got this piece of chipboard. Somebody gave me, or I bought a collection of stuff online, and it had these pieces of Christmas chipboard, and they're pretty heavy. And at one point it was painted, and I didn't end up using it because it's just how I work. I'll do a few and choose the one I like. And this is old paint. Now this color may or may not show. I'm just trying to get some texture on this, and it's gonna show when you lean in. You'll see different things going on in the background. This is a piece of cardboard that's got some cool patterns in the corrugation. It's pretty big, and I'm just kind of creating some texture here. In the end, this will get yet another coat of paint, and I'm just, going through the motion and the process. I didn't end up using the orange. Thought it might show through, wasn't sure, but all still part of the process. I would like to welcome you here to my channel. If you're new, I would love a subscribe, and if you like what you see, please come back and see me the first and third Saturday of each month with my moderator Lisa Mingus, who is Making It with Mingus, also on YouTube, and she's got a new channel. But we have a live stream and a really lively, fun chat. We do big projects. We have lots of fun. So come see us at 1 o'clock, first and third Saturday. This game is with Kylie Coo and Peg over at Two Old Crows, and it was really a lot of fun. The end project is just so full of texture that you want to lean in and touch it, and I'm just overjoyed with it. So here, don't worry, I'll straighten that camera back out. For some reason, it just kept wanting to turn on me. I'm rusting some pieces, and I'm going to show you, you do not need that rust paste. There are many ways to rust something. There are some powders, there are some chemicals, there is always alcohol ink, but the easiest and most successful rusting that I enjoy doing first is with brown, yellow, and sepia, or kind of an orange colored paint. And there's that paste that you don't need. Mine dried out right away. I was kind of disappointed. Premium Marketing makes a lot of great products, but that was always just a little, I was always trying to keep it wet. Here I am mixing some sand in the middle of that, just using my palette knife. Don't worry, I'll get my fingers in there too. I always say you're not having fun unless you're using your fingers and getting them messy. And I will sometimes take photos of my hands and post that it was a good day. So here I am rusting these wood pieces. Now in the end, these are going to look like rust. I didn't end up using these as spacers, which I thought I might. I usually have kind of an idea when I start a project. A rough idea in my head, but if I plan too far ahead, I know that I'm going to stray because I let the project guide me. And I've just learned over the years to let go and enjoy this process of getting from point A to point B. So what I'm doing here is making lots of extras, knowing I may or may not use them. I hope it's okay that I sped it up. I ended up with 16 videos creating this project, and they were all little videos, but there was like dry time in the middle and lots of times I needed to turn the camera off. It's not fun to watch me use the heat tool. I'll let you do it once, maybe twice, I'm not sure in here. But this kind of process where you're just playing and having fun and experimenting and using your fingers, this is where we find our creative joy. This is where we follow our heart and just let go and get the most satisfaction out of being in that zone. So I make a head lots of these little elements, and I will have some handy for next project. Here I'm taking a brush to get down on all those little details. It must be done. Creating that sandy texture on there. And this is just the first coat. So, I mean, as I assemble my project, I will be adding more, obviously. So this is a game, like I said, and this is the prompt for this specific round that we're doing. I am deciding first, and then they will do the project, and then they will each choose a prompt, and we will follow. This prompt is a mixed media frame, and I will show you how I make the different layers coming up. But this is, you know, all the fun bits, the planning in my head, but not really planning, you know. I did make another one first, and they are not alike, but they are alike. I cannot make two things exactly the same. It's just not in my nature. But I can have, you know, they'll be cousins in the end, I guess you could say. So I'm showing here, that's a wood piece. That's what it started like. And that's the change that I had. See, my camera was just like going to the side for some reason. I ended up using this clock. I think that was the first one I used. I think my mom brought me these. They're from the Dollar Tree. Those gears I got on Amazon. I do have original rusty pieces that I do use. But you don't have to have those. I mean, you can go for a walk and usually find some rust hanging out on the ground somewhere along your walk, or you can collect it from your husband's shop or go to a neighbor, or, I mean, people have rusty stuff that are available, but sometimes they're hard to come by in the way that you want them. So you just have to do it yourself. I ended up fixing this camera twist with a rubber band, believe it or not. I don't know why my gimbal kept wanting to go to the side. I'm not really sure. I think this is the last clip where I allow that to happen because I didn't notice. Just rusting my pieces here. This was so much fun. All in all, this project really only took me about a week, and yet another week to edit. I apologize, my editing skills are new, and it's not usually something I do a lot of. I will, you know, squish a few videos together, but definitely not 16. And this is my very first voiceover, so please be gentle with me, please. So I'm just kind of dipping in the sand, blotting it on, having fun. You see me pinching the sand there and kind of getting it down in all those little crevices. In the end, this really does look like a rusty piece. I showed it to my husband, the end project, and he stared at it. I always know if he stops and stares that, you know, he's like my litmus strip. But I always know that he likes it. And he stared at it and he finally said, "How much of that is metal?" And I said, "None. It's all plastic and wood." He couldn't believe it. So here, I kind of make these up ahead of time when I have little paper scraps. I always have some like trimmed sort of chipboard, cracker box stuff from my recycling bin. Standing up in a big bin next to me. Next to my desk, and I put little paper scraps on it, and then when I have a little, you know, alcohol ink left over on a baby wipe or spray or paint or whatever, I will blot it on sometimes and get a little color on there, but you can see from the shine the different sort of tiny pieces that I used to make this. I always have these handy in different stages, and I ended up, you know, using one for my project, and I use them often. This is going to end up being a very layered project, and I want each layer to kind of sing and make you lean in and wonder what that is. Whether it's physical or visual texture, it makes it interesting, and it doesn't take away from the photo in the end. It ends up sort of highlighting it because it's more, everything is dulled down and not quite monochromatic, but almost, because everything is sort of grungy and dulled down. You just want to lean in and touch it. So I'm just using this gear stencil because it reminds me of the car that's in the photo, and you may or may not be able to notice it there, but I know the car is there next to her. Lord knows what she was doing outside in that much snow with an antique chair and a wind-up car holding a baby, but my grandma being the baby. But yeah, I have no idea. They must have been going somewhere. She had a flapper dress on, and it's just one of my favorite photos. Camera's still doing that. I'm about to notice it and wonder why. Get a rubber band. It's never done that before. I don't know why. I mean, I use my camera during my live streams. I use it for everything, and for some reason my gimbal just didn't want to hold tight. All right, so just bringing in a little more interest. I love this stencil. It's just a cheap one. You know, it was like $3 or something on Temu, and it's got all these different text styles on it, and I just really love it. It's good to add some interest. Can't really read the words. It's just interesting. Lots of interesting layering marks. I'm just using a couple different colors here. I ended up using the first one for that end project, but I'm showing you how I got from A to B here. And I'm about to show you my favorite tip pretty quick here. So I do all sorts of projects, some little, some big. Usually do a project with my live streams, and we'll do it for a few weeks or, you know, a month or two. We just finished a goddess journal, and everyone got a free kit created by my friend Cheryl over on Etsy at the Torn Page with TextureJunkies inspired items. Here I have one of those children's hard book boards, and this extra paint, not the one with sand, but the extra paint in the navy and the orange, is just getting blotted on there. I just keep that next to my desk to pick up old paint, and when it gets interesting enough, I will fill the book. Maybe it'll be quotes, or I don't know what it'll be for, but an art journal. Love that stencil. Okay, now I'm going to make sure this is dry first. Heat tool out. I hope you want to do this project too, with the prompt being a mixed media frame, and that you will tag us. And if you do, I will gather all those things together and I will share them on Facebook, and I'll make a video montage for TikTok. Old English, one of my favorite things. It creates a richness, and it's like the project does not come alive until I add the Old English. It dries a tiny bit lighter than this, but the difference is incredible. Look at that. Do you see it? It just adds so much, and you wouldn't think because it's furniture polish, and I'm pretty sure it's got like walnut crystals in it, or walnut ink, plus whatever kind of oil it is. I could probably make some. I don't know. I try to make everything myself. I use a lot of walnut crystals for things. But yeah, I love that. Okay, so here I'm taking that photo and I'm deciding on a frame, the first frame, and because it's in layers. Now, another thing, I mix good coffee with cans of coffee occasionally, and I use the foil from the can and I emboss it. Now there are different ways to go about doing this, and it's thicker than your household foil. You can also use foil tape. You could use, that gold is really thin, so I put a sticker label paper on the back, and then I can do the same thing. And this is copper tape, real copper tape, that gets a really nice patina, if you know how to treat it. And then, or you can just use paper, and I use paper this time. It's foil on the top, paper on the bottom. Don't know where it came from, but it got embossed, and now I put a little double-sided tape on the back that barely stuck, and some alcohol ink. Love playing with alcohol ink. And I just kind of keep going until I feel like I like it, you know. Dabbing here and there, a little more of this, wax on, wax off, you know. This, another tip, my TextureJunkies, as some friends called it, spray, and I call it my secret sauce. And it's rubbing alcohol with 90 or above with hand sanitizer, kind of 50-50, and it helps your ink move but kind of stay more in place than, say, the stuff that you get to do that with. I can't remember what it's called. Oh my gosh, my brain, I tell ya. Words. Want Charlie Brown's teacher. Sometimes I feel like that. Anyway, so I just really prefer that. Even though I have the other stuff, I reach for my secret sauce. And I have it in squirt bottles. I have it in spray bottles. It doesn't move as much. It stays more in place. You have a little more time with it. It works on the gel plate. It's great on the gel plate. And you could find some videos of me using it on the gel plate many times over on my channel, where you're at right now. And if you're new, thank you so much for being here. We try to have fun, let our souls sing, get messy, make art therapy every chance we get, and do everything from our heart. Okay, so here I am with a piece of really old film that I have. Now, you could use plastic packaging. You could use like those folders that are transparent in colors. I liked this because it looked sepia, and I ended up, and it was kind of protective too. I ended up hoarding this for so long and thought, oh, wow, it's totally time to use that. So I used it. Finally. It's been age. I can't even tell you where I got it or how long I've had it. It's old too. Could have used, I guess, you know, like, I could have dyed the paper. I could have done other things to get it this color. I just really liked the reflective, almost glass-like feel of this. So I decided it was one of my layers. I use clothespins a lot. Just kind of gauging a trim here. Sorry about I don't know why it's doing that. Why is it doing that? Just a bit of a trim here and there. So, creative process, I'm really good at that. Editing, not so much. So, bear with me. I'm learning. I actually edited this video and lost all my footage and had to start over with my editing. So, it is always a process, isn't it? My creative brain is on fire most of the time, but my technical brain, nah. How about you? Do you have the same problem? It's funny. It's like there's not enough room in there anymore. It's too busy filled with whirling creative projects and anything more artsy than technical. So I'm using it's like 3-in-1. It's a Beacon product. You can find it at the Dollar Tree sometimes, and it's actually the foam board glue for the poster board. I think it's called poster board glue. But It's exactly like the 3-in-1. Same company makes it. I think it's a ploy. I think they just put a little bit more rubbing alcohol in it and call it something else. Tell us, Beacon. And for $1, I mean, you can't go wrong. I bought a whole bunch of them. Really do like clothespins. They have a bigger pad where it connects and touches your project, so there's less damage, and it's just they're cheap. They hold everything in place nicely, and they never stick. So at least I never have a problem with that. So I do love those. Your other clips have one connection point, and it's like a line, so it can create damage and dents and stuff. And when you do really textured stuff like I do, clothespins are just much more thoughtful to the project. See, I'm already giving it personality. I'm trying to be thoughtful of my project. That's right. Like it's not an inanimate object now. I've given it enough of my soul, I guess. So I'm just deciding where, if, with this layer underneath, where I'm going to have the most interest. I'm kind of setting it up there. Gonna decide here kind of how big I want it as one of the layers. I love those things that you make. You lean in and say, or you see somebody else made, and you lean in and say, how did they do that? I think those are my favorite, those touchable, questionable, unusual things. And that's what I strive to do. We do have a shipwreck bottle project coming up next time, and we're going to do that for a couple weeks, and I'm going to share my favorite tips and share one that I've made in the past and do another sort of assemblage project that looks like it came up from the bottom of the sea and it's been there for hundreds of years. It'll be fun. If you'd like to join us, grab a bottle, subscribe, hit the bell, watch for the notification for the first Saturday in February. It could even be a Valentine's Day gift for your loved one, and I will show you how I made it into a gift, my first one, for my husband, and I turned it into a frame. I don't just make frames, by the way. I do like functional art, though. I think there's room in our life to make things that are functional, beautiful, and artistic. And I like it when I walk into my house and I see an art gallery. It makes me happy. Once again with the gentle clips. And here I need to kind of decide where that goes. Crocodile. I decided eyes instead of rivets here. Deciding where they go exactly. And I'm talking to myself, So Kylie and Peg are just heroes. They also do a grungy style of work, and we all have some similar styles and loves. And encouraging each other is going to be really fun this year, and a fun game to play, I think. And I hope that you enjoy it too. As soon as their videos are made, I will put links in my description box. So if you're watching this after theirs have been made, the links will be below. I just learned how to use this crocodile. I got it secondhand and didn't have the instructions. and fiddled with it at first and got discouraged. So I just used the different sized punches on it forever and ever. And I finally, buckled down and figured it out one day. I mean, I've had it for 2 years. 2 years it took me to figure out how to use it, or to be bothered, I guess. I'm okay with using things, doing things the old-fashioned way, because I like to make everything by hand, and I don't mind dragging out a hammer. It makes me happy, actually. Hammers are fun. I've done a lot of furniture in my life, and beating things with a hammer is very therapeutic when you're trying to make things look old and dinged up. Have you ever done that? It's so much fun. Or a chain. Ugh. I have an old tea cart that I did that with, and refinished it and put wood on top and beat it with a chain and a hammer and bottle caps, and it's just so cool. Okay, so I'm going to put a little brown around those edges, kind of make sure that nothing looks new on it, because it was a cereal box to begin with. I don't want those evenly colored edges showing that look like raw paper. And that got another layer of paint below, and then I scraped some white over it. I'm sorry there's no footage of that. It got lost. I just used a palette knife, So it's actually, when you lean in, it's got lots of sort of different muted colors inside, and so much texture. Well, I wouldn't say lots. It's looks monochromatic from a distance, but when you lean in, there is a lot of difference and interest. So I've got this golden heavy body gel medium, because I want the opportunity to tuck things in on the side. I'm just putting it down the middle. Okay, here I've pulled out my rusty pieces, and then that middle piece there is one with patina. That is a resin piece that hasn't been rusted yet, because I decided I needed it. I've got a bunch of molds, and I put different things in them: resin, clay, even hot glue, a couple of them, because, it was there. I wanted to try it and see if it would make them curve around things that way, and it does work. So that has Swelligant on it. Swelligant is a chemical. You put like this metal paint on it, and then you put the chemical on, and it gets an actual real patina on it. And I ended up leaving it that color, the piece I just put down, obviously, because it in life, like when you're looking at it for real, and not on camera, it matches the background. And you'll see some photos at the end, so please stay till the end so you can see those. So I'm adding these pieces, deciding where they go, a little bit of this and that here and there. And don't worry about getting glue down in all your little spots there, like in the crevices, because we're going to remedy that with some more texture and sand. Used like a glitter almost, and then painted over. So there. I love that little swag. This is the first time I've actually used it, and I've got a whole bunch of them poured out. And I'm glad I pulled that out, because it really ends up going with the project so well. So just getting it in place, various things to glue, Boy, that piece at the top looks rusty already. So I'm not usually an even person. I usually do things asymmetrically, and I don't know why I went even this time. It's pretty rare for me. And I think you know what I mean, because you're either an even person or an odd person. You either hang your pictures on the wall and you even them out and there are 2 of them, or you have 3 and they are asymmetrical. Most people are one or the other, and that is a right or left brain thing, or it'll even almost always determine whether you are an emotional or a mathematical artist. Emotional artists not meaning like they're drama queens. It just means like they do everything with their heart, and mathematical artists do things with their head. Those are your tattoo artists, your architects, your, people, inventors that are very technical and even about things. My husband is like that, and I am the opposite. So he'd rather have everything even and pristine and whatever because it all clouds his brain, and I would rather have art everywhere and asymmetrically because that's who I am. Guess who wins? That's right. That's right. But tell me, are you a little bit of both? Or are you an even or an odd person? I mean, some people are a little bit of both, but generally it's one or the other. Okay, so here I am with my alcohol ink and my paint out again, and I put a little alcohol ink on those rivets, and this is where I kind of dripped alcohol ink from those rivets, kind of like, and talking with my hands, of course, kind of like it had been out in the weather and it had dripped and rusted on those drips. So don't be afraid to mix your mediums, and don't be afraid to cover what you've done. I guess that's probably a life lesson we all need. All those things just get us from A to B, and it's hard not to regret covering something, or like you have something in your project that you like, this little area that you like so much, and you don't want to cover it. So you end up not making the project you wanted in the first place because you got so married and precious with that one little spot. And I know you know what I'm talking about if you're creative like this and do sort of intuitive work or grungy work, mixed media. I think it's hard not to get precious about those things. And, yap, yap, yap with my hands here. Sorry. See how it's all kind of looking one color, and it's not until you lean in that you see all those other colors kind of showing in the background. And that's what's drawing the eye in to the photo, really. And, I mean, it's not really monochromatic. Mono would mean one color. And different shades of that color, but everything has a super aged grungy feel, so it all feels monochromatic. See, there's a piece of rust. We have a guy that knocked on our door one day. He wanted to dig on our 4 acres with his metal detector out and see what we had under the ground. So he brings me boxes of this stuff that he finds, in our yard. In different areas, and that is an actual piece of rust that is really cool, and look at how it matches. Yeah, it's time to get out some fabrics. I was thinking about tucking in on the sides. So the first one I made that I'll show at the end, I included some old lace in a different way. Here, now this is way too white. I'm going to grunge it up, don't worry. I'm kind of tucking these in and deciding what I want to use. And that is hand tatting there, and the one in my hand is a piece of rusted fabric. And I do have some shorts sharing how I did that last summer. I really love the rusted fabric. I need to do it again when it's warm out because I've gotten pretty precious about those pieces. There's another piece, rusted fabric. I'm just kind of sizing them up, sharing the difference, deciding which one. It'll be one of them, though. And here, I have added it. I chose the hand tatting that I had a tiny bit of. Talking with those Italian hands again. What I did was I put alcohol ink on, and then I used rubbing alcohol and sprayed it and blotted it back off to get some uneven color on it. Like it had been weathered and sitting next to rust for a long time. Not necessarily trying to make it look old. I'm just trying to make it look... It's not anything specific. I'm trying to make it look old. I said that backwards. Sorry. Words once again. So I've got out like a bunch of old stuff here. Got old broken jewelry, bits of this and that, and everything in sort of those same tones and with the same sort of feel. And I'm going to create some sort of I don't know, dangles from the bottom, maybe some jewelry on top. This is where I'm working intuitively and I hadn't decided yet. But everything is kind of one color. So I'm going to speed it up here a bit while I talk with my hands. I recommend these rings. If you don't have one, I mean, they're a lifesaver when you're doing jump rings and all the loops in jewelry. They really help. I always have a ring on my desk, and I have a couple backups because I lose it quite often, or I'll walk downstairs with it away from my art desk and leave one by the coffee pot, you know. So I'm always gathering them up and taking them back up. I added holes to the bottom to hang something. I had to poke out those holes, sorry. Speed up, speed up. You all know how to punch a hole, right? And what I'm doing here is kind of sizing it up and deciding what shape I want those chains to be. I know I want some dangles on there. My video was so long that I had to actually, forgot the rubber band, I had to actually speed it up here. Anyway, and so I'm sorry about that. It's just a long process. I guess you're getting a good view. There we go. I fixed it. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit of paint on those, and they will probably get further rusted. I've got all those little old things out. What I like to do is start putting jump rings on stuff and making dangles, and then I'll have some, even if I don't use them all, I'll have them for next time. So when I do a project, I end up with lots of started leftovers ready for the next one that carry over. And obviously then I need to go get another box and create another special place for those things. But for, say, rusted plastic and wood pieces, or for a little dish for the jewelry that I've already put on eye pins or head pins, and, you know, dangles that I've made, but they're ready to go, you know. I ended up using that little snap. It made a really cool little connector, and a transistor I used in the end, which I love. And I wish I would have got more at an estate sale that I went to. I'm still kicking myself about that one. I'm wondering if everybody else does that too. Like we can't stop thinking about that one thing we walked away from at the thrift store, or when we went on vacation and we really wish we had purchased it. That's when I know I probably should go knock on their door, right? It was meant to be, right? I don't know. She had a whole box of them. They had a really cool little thin drawers in them, and it was the original box. And it was, her dad had passed away. It was in his electrical shop. And I wish I would have bought the whole box, because they make the coolest connectors for these vintage items. So I used the bulb pins on the end just to get my shape before I add the actual rings, because I'm going to be changing it and, you know, redoing it over and over. And those are really handy for, you know, when you're trying to decide on a piece of jewelry, and you're just playing with this and that, you know, as a temporary fix. They'll get a big jump ring in the end. I just don't want to do it over and over again. So I've got this thing about rosary beads. I love them. I love using old rusty rosary beads. You know, where you find the chain is old and has a nice patina on it. And I'm not Catholic, and I hope it doesn't offend anyone that's Catholic. I am just fascinated by all things religious, and as a spiritual person, I love religious items. And I think each one is a prayer, isn't it? I think that's really cool. Okay, so I'm just fiddling around here, trying this and that. Wire, jump rings. I really do love mixing everything together. It just makes me happy with the end product and gives everything so much interest. I make these art room angels, and they're real long and thin like this too, and I love making them. It's about time to make another batch, I think, but if you go over to my TikTok page, you can see photos around my fireplace of those things that I make, and somehow they all seem to be long and skinny like this. A couple months ago, I actually made, that box, that the fortune teller box, Zoltar in the movie Big. I actually made a miniature version of that with the fortune and the fortune teller inside, and I put little twinkly lights, and once again another tall and skinny thing that I made, and I don't know why that's my shape, but it is. So yeah, just trying this and that, making dangles, trying things. All my leftovers will be put in a dish and used on something else if I don't use them. Friends, I am back. I am done with my project, and I actually think I'm going to stay standing to make sure that you see it all. It is, I am tickled, not pink, I am tickled red over this, or rust over this. So here's the first one that I made as a kind of a rough draft to go through. And this one you're going to see at a later date available. And I don't usually do that, but watch for an event that's coming up. So there's all that rust, not rust, any of it. Plastic, wood, you name it, alcohol ink on metal, rusty fabric that I did right there a long time ago. And then there's this one that you saw me work on. So that's the top. And then let's go through. Hey, let me turn the light on. Look at that. I'm going to try to turn it at an angle so you don't get the glare. So I rusted out all of that. I even touched some rust on that lace. And that is handmade lace that I had a tiny little section of. And here's the jewels. There's a transistor. There's really old stuff in here. And of course, I love the spoon, and it feels like it goes with it because it's my grandma and my great-grandma when she was a baby. Or my great-grandma and my grandma when she was a baby. I'm going to set this down here. I cannot believe this, how rusted it looks. I think it was probably my best and most successful rust yet. I'm going to set it sideways so you can really look at it here at length. While I tell you that this is a game. Once again, this is a game with Kylie Coo and Peg over at Two Old Crows. And we would love for you to play along. So, first of all, I need to say, tag, you're it, Kylie and Peg. And your prompt is a frame. A mixed media frame. So that means out there, all of you, if you want to play along and make a mixed media frame, we would love to see it and see how you approach the prompt. If you would like to tag us, it's tag a sister, and it would be on Instagram or Facebook, or you can tag me TextureJunkies, and I will gather them all and share them. I am so excited about this, and I hope that you will be too, and that you play with us. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go learn how to do a voiceover for the rest of my videos, and I will see you soon. Thanks again. You guys really make my heart swell being here. Bye-bye for now.